Yes, at Jamu, we know that certainly we will give all the love. And now that we are in the end of the year, celebrating 2023, of course, there are a lot to be grateful and thankful for. And on that note, we would hit off directly within the conversation with the RGPF. Last week in studio, I had a wonderful guest, and he said to me at the end of the program, Saj, I ain't coming and tell people about offenses like seat belt and defective tire. These are things that they know. I want them to understand the traffic management for the Christmas season. So we are here again with him, and we would be discussing the whole aspect of the last lap. You know, when you talk about carnival, yeah, the last lap. So the end of it, as to how people really look into it. So we'll be doing that this morning. And those of you looking at us live or streaming, you would realize that I have a few persons with me this morning. I have the 4 key departments with me this morning, which is traffic, CID, fire, pretty lastly. And this morning is a special morning. I've never had all ranking officers with me in studio. Well, I have one newcomer, and it is privilege, and the lone female among my guests, and I'm happy to have her with me. But what I'll do to save time, when I reach on them, they would introduce themselves, and we roll on nicely. So at this time, we go straight on to traffic. And of course, I can't start my program without saying, you see something here, something, no something. You must say something. That might just be the last piece of the puzzle to help us solve a crime or even prevent a crime, yeah? So we urge you, listeners, you are part of that with us. Tourism is everybody's business, and of course, so is crime. And when we talk about crime, it's not just the harm offenses, not just the property crimes, but also traffic is of a concern for one and all. So good morning to you, Sergeant, and how are you?
Hey, President, good morning to the motoring public. So far, so good this morning. I'm quite fine and ready for this program this morning.
Okay, so for persons who don't remember who you were and who was in studio last week, can you just introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Sergeant Roberts. I am presently attached to Traffic Department of the Eastern Division.
Right. So last week, I know we dabbed a lot into traffic management, and we look at some of the offenses that was bombarding your department, and also for that of the Eastern Corridor, because St. David's is a corridor that we need to look at in terms of accidents, and especially around the festive season, it can be a bit sticky for us. What do you have to say to our listeners this morning as we look at traffic management?
Okay, we all see what happens on the Eastern Main Road, and meaning that the Eastern Main Road really begins from Sendal Street and ends at Wester Hall, right, from a traffic standpoint. And the Eastern Division is responsible for that area. As we can see, the spate of accidents that usually takes place on the Eastern Main Road. And it is safe to say that one of the contributing factors is that of speeding. When you look at the magnitude of the accidents in terms of, damages, to vehicles, to properties, and serious injuries, and even fatalities, we have narrowed down, and we've seen one of the contributing factors is that of speeding. So, as part of the management of our traffic management, you will see a lot of speed checks being taking place along the St. David's Road, and a lot of traffic checks and mobile patrols and the like. I want to implore on drivers that the use of cell phone, right? Once you're on the cell phone, it stems to a lot of distractions. So once you're holding or using a mobile handheld device, you can be distracted, thus resulting into road fatalities and accidents alike.
Right. So, as you speak of that and the device, we have been seeing a lot of challenges with it. And persons think that they can outsmart the police. But one must also remember that even if they're not in, and I want you to correct me there, if an officer is out of uniform and they see someone committing a traffic offense, especially that of the device, yes, while I know it's a ticketable offense, can that person take the information and have that driver reported and charged?
Yes, if you're off duty, okay, that is the reason why you're supposed to at all times have in your possession your police identification card.
Right.
Okay, so out of uniform, you approach that person, you identify yourself, you take the information from them, and they can be reported or subsequently be given a ticket.
All right. Let's just go back a bit to the tongue of Grenville. Having seen had happened for St. George's, considering Monday and Tuesday, where vendors was allowed to vend on one particular street and based on traffic and congestion had to be relocated. I know last week we spoke of a street being closed for the purpose of vending. Do we have any of that challenge in Labie?
Yes, so what you find is that mostly all of the streets, people tend to vend on those streets. So what would have happened is that portion of street, Sitting Street, it has been closed off to accommodate vendors. Also, there is an area, in the bus terminus car park,
Okay.
they have been allocated for vendors. So you have the vegetable vendors on one side, persons who sell clothing and jewelry on the other side. So though it may not be able to accommodate all the vendors, but it really eases some of the streets and so on.
Right. So while we are new still looking at traffic management, I know that the tongue of Grenville, considering most of the streets being one way, especially Victoria Street, just after the intersection of Cobb Bank onto what we call Andal Jubilee intersection. I know we have lots of vendors there, and that would be mainly vegetable vendors. What advice do you have for them in terms of the sales and also that of motorists who intends to engage them while in their vehicles?
Okay, no. What the advice I really have for persons who want to vend in this area, are likely to vend in this area, is that utilize space in the market square, utilize space where it's being provided at the bus terminus, and also the motorist has a responsibility, because what happens is that we call that drive-by shopping. So is that you may stop in at intervals, to shop. So you might stop by A to purchase carrots, okay? He may not have carrots, but you might stop lower down by B, and what happens is that you find by stopping ever so often, you create a backlog of traffic way back. So the motorist has a responsibility. So I think that instead of coming into the town of Grenville itself, because we have a limited parking space, so all area like the fish market, Griffin Lane, okay, you could utilize these areas to park and do your shopping and so on. But once you drive by shopping, it really hinders the free flow of traffic.
So finally for you, Sergeant, before I go to our other guests, would you encourage motorists or vehicle owners to do what is considered to be carpooling or park on the outside, come into the town, do your shopping, and then you get your vehicle and just pick up your goods and get out?
Yes. And so just to, emphasize, because I really want to go into the traffic arrangement and the management plan. Gladstone Road, right, will be made.
Okay, just hold on that, because I would want you to do that last for the tongue of Grenville, because by the time all my other guests is speaking, our listeners would certainly forget what the management would be like for the tongue. So you would come back with that finally just before the close of the program, all right?
Okay.
Thank you so much. So listeners, we are there with the conversation with the RGPF, and in studio with me is few of my guests from the Grenville Police Station. Most of them are of various departments and also in charge of departments. We take a very brief with our theme song and we'll be right back. Yes, Jamu, I know he's hearing it because he said he will, and we accept that, right? So he do hear our prayer. So, listeners, we just heard from Sergeant Roberts, officer in charge of the traffic department within the Eastern Division, and he has given you, some reminders because he spoke about those things last week. Now we're going to go into CID, Criminal Investigation Department. They has been here over a period of time. It's only a week before I had the officer in charge of the Eastern Division CID department at this studio, and we look at firearm ammunition offenses as well as robbery. Now this morning, we'll just look at a whole encompass in regards to crime prevention and whatever else our guests have to say to us. So we go right to her, our lone female and first time to the studio. So we say good morning to you and welcome, Madam. I'll give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. Go right ahead.
All right. Good morning to Sergeant Grant. Thank you for having me, and good morning to all listeners. I'm Corporal Francis. I'm attached to the Criminal Investigation Department at the Eastern Division.
Right. Of course, as a first timer, there is one question that is always posed. How long have you been within that department?
I've been with the CID department for the past 20 years.
Wow. So listeners, you realize we have knowledge and experience here this morning, right? So in lieu of time, we just jump straight into it. But before I ask you the question or allow you to give your listeners the information, tell me, I know you had been at CID head office and you are now at CID Eastern. How would you compare that to workspace in terms of its challenges with offenses?
Well, I would say the Eastern Division is much more challenging than head office.
Right.
As the main reason being that at head office there, we have several persons there. In the Eastern Division, our staff are very limited. The workload is quite heavy in terms of crime.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of a challenge.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's understandable, but we'll get through it. We'll get past. And hence, listeners, we do ask of you, whenever you see, know, or hear something, we say something, and that would help, even if our numbers are limited. So for this morning's program, as I say, CID has been here repetitiously since the Yuletide operation for RGPF has declared sometime in October. What is it you want to leave with our listeners this morning as we speak of crime prevention?
All right. Well, I just want to share some tips with our listeners. There are certain things that we take for granted, and we think, well, it's just, we see it as simple things. But especially in this season, we need to pay particular attention and be more conscious of our doings, and so, right. So, some of the tips I would like to share is that persons have the tendency during the Christmas season to have, it's obvious, we go the extra mile. Some of us go the extra mile, and we tend to have more cash than we usually have because we need to find, the cash to have all the fancy things that comes with Christmas, right? So I would advise to persons that you should avoid walking with large sums of money at one particular time. Yes, you have to go there and shop. If you can use your credit cards and so your debit cards and so, that would be advised instead of carrying cash. Persons also try to, I know of situations where you have children, so you go to work, the children is at a neighbor or by some family member, and you will tell them, okay, well, so-and-so time you're going to go home. I'm going to leave the key under the mat. Right. I'm going to leave the key in the floor vase, these things. You should try avoid doing that. Because the criminals, they tend to have that knowledge, so they would search, and by whatever means necessary, if they have to go into your house, they would get to go into your house. So avoid leaving your keys exposed like that. Ensure when you leave home your house is properly secured. Some people say, well, I just closed the window, but you didn't lock it.
Yes.
Lock your windows, lock your doors. And
Especially the windows that is close to the doors or the veranda
right.
access way.
Exactly. So ensure that those are closed and properly secured, and not just closed but locked as well. Items, some persons, well, from experience, persons would go, yes, they think the house is properly secured, but they would leave like a laptop close to a window.
Right.
Somebody looking around the house, they would see the laptop there. Yes, the window is locked. You may have burglar bars, but they would smash the window, the glass, push in their hand, take the laptop or your phone or whatever, and they get away with that. So try avoid doing those things. Ensure that your valuable items are properly secured. They're away from doors and windows and things like that. Another tip I'd like to share, persons, there are a lot of activities during this period, and persons going to and from activities. Sometimes you don't have a ride, so you may tend to walk, right? That is your choice, but please avoid walking in dark, dismal areas.
Yes.
You're exposing yourself to be robbed, females to get raped, or in those sort of things. So avoid dark areas. If you choose to have company, that is a better secured way to be traveling. Right. So try to avoid dark areas, and if you don't have a choice, at least have company with you, so at least you'll be secured.
I just want to stray you a little bit, Corporal, in regards to business owners. It's a time when persons tend to open later than normal. It's a time when people in flux. What advice do you have for cashiers and even business owners in terms of them securing their own property against criminal elements?
All right. Well, first I will say, as we all know, the season is busy and business owners tend to get more business during that period. So with the extra cash, you can hire security, or you can also, based on your location, you can inform the police that you're extending your hours to such and such time, because there'll be police patrolling, heavy police patrol during that season as well in the business area in the town, and so and in terms of securing your cash after business. As I said, if you have the option, you can make the request from the police to escort you to deposit your cash, or you can hire security to do likewise. And if you decide to do that on your own without any assistance from any form of security, I would advise that you do so. Do not be consistent with your time, right? If you close at 7, maybe you can deposit your money at 6:30. A little earlier than normal, or a little later than normal. Just do not be consistent with your time.
Right.
Do not be depositing your cash 7 o'clock every night and using the same route, right? So you might want to change your route, change your time, and so that you would not be, if you're consistent, you'll be easily monitored and you can be easily attacked, and so you want to make variations with your time and your route.
Right. I just want to stretch you again in terms of what would you say to persons with regards to young children or young persons, especially under 18. We know Grenville is a busy place for festival, and considering that our operation order do look at one of the threats for us is sexual offenses, while normally as a CID person you would say that there has been a moderation in terms of the reports. What advice do you have for persons or parent or guardian, and even young persons themselves who is hearing us this morning, as to protecting themselves while coming out and socializing for the eve of Christmas and also the New Year?
All right. So my advice, as I said earlier on, avoid walking in dark areas. So sometimes, your children are in Grenville for whatever reason, and you expect them by a particular time. You would advise your children, especially the girls, to do not use what we would refer to as shortcuts, Let them walk the main road so they can be easily seen by, motorists, pedestrian, whatever. And so that will, it's a safer way for them to get home. And guidance, parents, please, when we all have to go to work, and so you're going to work, you're leaving your children at home, ensure that they're properly supervised. Especially, children from, let's say, 12 and under. You don't want to leave children at the age 12 and under home by themselves. Ensure that there's a responsible teenager or an adult with them during that period. You don't want to send your children out late to the shop by themselves, especially the very younger ones. Sometimes you miss something, you're cooking, you miss something, and you want to tell them, oh, just run down in the shop and get that for me. That is not safe, right? So you want to ensure you give your children time to get back home when they go out, in the festive season, as you say, you want to send them shopping, and so fine, they want to go and get the whatever for Christmas. But ensure that they're back home by a particular time. Ensure those of them who have mobile phones, ensure that you keep communicating with them to ensure that they're safe and they're doing what they're supposed to do and be back by the time they're supposed to be back.
Right. So thank you so much, Corporal Francis. As I say, it's a sharing morning, so you would not get all of what is normally due. So listeners, yes, it is the conversation with the RGPF, and it is a mélange this morning. Piece of everything, last lap, as we call it in terms of crime prevention and your security. We'll take a brief into the theme song and we'll come right back as we introduce our another guest. Yes, Ajamu, he did hear you, and you will be heard, and we all will be. And again this morning, no stranger to us, and I say good morning to you, sir.
A pleasant good morning to you and the listening public.
Right.
Yes.
How are you, Corporal?
I'm doing pretty fine.
I realize you're brightly tired this morning. Are you tired from yesterday's labor, or you're just spritey?
Well, I believe I'm just spritey.
Good.
Yes.
Happy to know it's the time of the year. It's the time of the year.
Yes.
Tell me, before we dive into some fire prevention tips, how have yesterday affected you and your staff or your colleagues, given what were...
Yes. It was not that extensive as previous time.
Okay.
Major slides, there were a few slides. We went around looking at the different areas. It didn't really create much problem that hindered with reference to the mudslides.
Right.
More so the water blockage where pedestrians could not pass. However, the slides were not major to that point where it completely blocked off an area. Okay. And then we had most of the heavy equipment out to kind of like at least clear the roadsides. So
right.
I realized in the other areas was more heavily affected, like St. Patrick's.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
unlike St. Andrews.
Did you get any fire call yesterday?
Yes, we had a fire call, an electrical fire. So where a meter base caught fire. Luckily, the neighbor were able to knock out the meter base from the house.
Right.
And it was a wooden structure. So if that remained, it would have catched the house. So it's at least very good for the neighborly love, and people moving with the neighbors
being
and
each other's keeper.
Yes.
Right. So you continue on that note
Yes.
into giving us some reminders for the season. And as you already started or alluded to that electrical
Yes.
fire yesterday or call, can you start on that note? Because it's a time of the year when more of electricity is being used and all
Yes.
sorts of device and decoration is being used with
Yes.
not just business places but also at home.
At home.
Just go right ahead and speak to our listeners this
Okay,
morning.
yes. So just want the persons to be vigilant, Whenever the lights flickers or you have a major interruption, that's a sign that something is wrong with your socket, electrical socket. And you need an electrician to take a look at it. All right, whenever you regularly trip, so you are plugged into an appliance and the the breaker shuts off, that means it tells you that something is wrong with that socket. So you need to get a technician. All right. And we know that time of the year where we throw out the old and bring in the new.
Right.
So you may get appliances from different countries that have different rated voltage, whether the US or England, and we know that we use the 240, 220 voltage in Grenada. However, you may have appliances that use the 120. So you may need a step down transformer, right? We need to consider in the load that in which that appliance needed to operate. So if you have an appliance that takes a lot more power than the transformer gives off, that can also cause a fire. So I always go back to say that whenever you unaware or have no knowledge of those installation, you'll get a technician to do evaluation and install and guide you along the way.
Right.
All right. Yes.
So let us continue still speaking with our homeowners and also some of the food business enterprise.
Yes.
It's the time of the year when there is increased cooking and baking.
Yes.
What advice do you have to that homeowner that says, well, I know there was a gas leak sometime before, but now that you do more baking and cooking, what would you say to her?
Yes. So and what one can do now, because the fact that we do more cooking and baking is that also an admonished person out there. You can do the soapy water test.
Okay.
All right. You could check inspect the hose, the gas hose, because there may be cracks or bloats on it, and there may be a gas leakage. All right. So want you to inspect that. Look at even the regulator. Sometimes the head a bit slack. All right. So you may have a little gas leakage. So do an inspection of that before. If you realize it's through wear and tear, then you need to replace it. So even though it's $45 or $45 to $50, at least it's better than replacing an entire house. Yes.
Yeah. But even if that's the last you may have to say for the morning, please advise us or explain to us what is soapy water test.
Okay, yes. So what happens is that with the soapy water test, you put it onto that regulator or the hole. So once there is an air leakage, at least you're going to bubble. You're going to see that spot area with the soapy, you're going to see it bubbling. Once air leakage, gas leakage. Yes. Okay. So at least that's an indicator that the gas is leaking.
And when you speak to a soapy water, you're speaking of squeezy or
any detergent and water. Right. So you have it in that kind of foamy way. That foam is on the regulator or the hose, and once it leaks, then it would start to bubble off. Yeah, right. That's an indicator of the leakage.
Do you have anything else that you think our listeners should know?
Yes. Well, yes. I try to.
As for the season,
yes,
I know
for the season.
At the time.
Yeah. So you want to narrow down. Yes. So supervised cooking.
Okay.
We have had situations where people say, hey, I only leave the house just to get something, and when I come back, few seconds, or you indicated your intention is for 1 minute or less. But things do happen. You may meet somebody, or you may get derailed, and 1 minute may turn into 5 minutes, and 5 minutes is a long time for your cooking to be unsupervised or something to happen. All right, your kids. As with the people back on CID, with reference to that, have them supervised, because kids are fascinated by fires. Make sure you have your matches and lighters and those things stored where they cannot get it, because if they are home there, and it's a season where you have the scratch bombs and the starlights and those things, and it's fun for them. However, if used improperly, it can be chaotic and it can start a fire. Yes, so have them supervise, have your lighters, your match, those things secured properly, out the reach of children.
All right.
Yes.
So fire has always been here, and I like the way you put it up. It starts from on top and it comes down to our kids. They ought to be supervised. And of course, it's a time of the year, only time when we know of those toys and the starlights and the
Yes.
bombs and so forth. And children like to do their
Yes.
due. So please remember, in terms of fire, supervise. Yeah, we're running down into the last 15 minutes of our program. This is what you call time management with crime prevention under the conversation with the RGPF. Thus far, we had traffic, we had CID, we had fire. And of course, we can't speak about Christmas without Pretty Alasani. So that would be our next guest. But we will give him some ajamu. We'll pray for him first, and then he will come on.
I want to say a prayer for all them politicians. I want to beg the master to brighten their vision. Give them the inspiration to look beyond the horizon. Too long we living in bitterness and hate. Now the time is right for us to renew our faith. I'm sick and tired of all the
Of course, we are sick and tired of all the confusion, and Christmas time is obvious the time of the year when there is love and extra love. So, yeah, I know the farmers are saying, oh my God, I'm sick and tired of minding my animals and having my produce, and now I'm ready to make $1 to eat, and it's not there. But at the same time, we need our homeowners, we need our restaurant persons, and we need one and all to be each other's keepers. So we have in studio with us, no stranger to the program, Corporal John, 204 John, man of the soil. He's known throughout. And he's just going to give us some tips and guidance, reminders as to Pretty Alasani. When we speak of Pretty Alasani, we speak of livestock and produce, our farm produce. And that's the time of the year when it is utilized the most. Good morning to you, Corporal, and how are you?
Pleasant good morning to you, Ms. Grant, and all the other members here with us this morning.
Thank you.
Pleasant good morning to the listening audience. I'm Corporal John, affectionately called UFO. I guess as much a lot of people know me too. With special responsibility at the Granville Police Station in relation to Pretty Alasani. Now the Pretty Alasani Act is cited in Chapter 250, Chapter 3 of the 2010 Revised Laws of Grenada. And when we say Pretty Alasani, it simply means is the stealing of agricultural produce from farmers. And around this time, we realize that there is an increase in Pretty Alasani because most people want to eat a little more vegetables. So, however, we are telling you, we are saying to you that there is people who will be passing with bags. You definitely knows that these persons haven't got any land. You know for a fact someone don't even have a square foot of land. But you see them pass me big bags and you purchase items from them. This in itself is an offense, and we're asking the public to cease from doing so. In seeing these persons, you can make a call to the Pretty Alasani hotline, 300, or you can call the nearest police station, or you may have some police officer you might have confidence in, and he has a number, you can call him and report the incident.
Right. So, while that is so, and yes, we encourage it, but there are persons who already stole the livestock or the goat, the sheep, the cattle, and they have it laying in some bush, as we know. But the meat now is there for sale. And even some of the produce, agriculture produce, is already stolen, and they were just confiscated somewhere now and for sale, offering for sale. What advice do you have to the homeowners and, well, buyers are at large when they contract in such business?
But we are saying to these people that when these people come around and you're not safe of buying from them, you can contact the nearest police station or a police officer you're confidence in. The Pretty Alasani hotline, 300, or as I say, you must have some police officer you may have confidence in that you could call them and pass some information, which will be dealt with as soon as possible.
Right. In terms of, we're still on the heel of when all the beef and pork to be slaughtered. Is there any advice you want to give to persons in general as we go about that venture?
We asking persons to buy meat from reputable butchers, because there's some people when Christmas come around they'll just kill animal, and sometimes they are not livestock owners. So we urging persons to be particular attention to this and be careful to who they buy meat from at this time.
Right. So let us look a little in terms of predial produce, especially the ground provisions, the citrus, and so forth. If perchance they were to get any strange things or objects in those stuff, what advice do you have for them?
You should report it immediately to the nearest police station, or you might see an officer on patrol, so you can report the matter to him, and they can report the matter to us, wherever we are.
Right. So, having considered the time of the year, as I alluded to earlier, when predial produce and livestock is high on its demand, is there any closing words or remarks you would like to leave with our listeners that they should pay particular attention to?
We're asking farmers in nearby vicinity, farmers that are farming close to one another, to pay particular attention to one another farms, person with livestock. We're asking you to keep it close as possible to your homes and to check them as regular as possible. You can put up a camera, a surveillance camera, close to the pen or in your garden. So in case anybody else come besides you, they can pick it up. You can have some kind of motion sensor light if you have them close to your home. So at nights, you know, if somebody pass, you'll see, and that could alert you. So that could help you be a little more safe.
Right. I know that in terms of predial larceny, the ages for our children and is different to that of criminal age. We also are aware that our children is home on vacation and parents and guardians are going to work. Do you have any words of advice?
Under the revised law of the predial larceny, once the child is over 7, they could be charged for the offense together with the parents. So we're asking parents to be very careful that your children don't go into other people's property and steal it, like the mango or the cane or the oranges. At this time now, we know a little oranges and mandarin has been coming in. So we ask you to talk to them and be very careful from going to people's lands and taking them stuff from them, taking out the stuff.
Right. So, of course, predial larceny, here we are. But by chance, Corporal, I know you're a man of the farm as well, and you have a close relationship with your farmers. Is there any produce at this time that you have farmers complaining of that they are having challenge with predial larceny?
Well, lately we had some watermelons have been stolen. Some watermelons have been damaged by animals in the Simon area. So we engage the persons and trying to bring that to a speedy resolution.
Okay, then. I asked that question just in case there were anything that our homeowners need to do to be careful in terms of produce with regards to all of the other tips and guidelines that you have given so that they can be extra vigilant about.
So we asking personnel, not only farmers, but sometimes you might be home and you might be noticing that somebody will be passing with a bag and you know that person haven't got any lands. Please call the police, call the nearest police station, or you can speak to a neighbor you're confident in to call the police here. Because sometimes you yourself might be afraid. You could go over to your neighbor you're confident in, speak to them and ask them to call the police and let them know what you saw a while ago, so then we can try to see how fast we could deal with that situation.
Right. So on that note, I know you're one of the officers that do share your contact, even if your department does not have a direct number. I'll give you that opportunity, Corporal John, to greet your community in terms of your job farewell for, well, greetings, not farewell, greetings for 2023 and also that of 2024.
Well, I would like to thank all the farmers and the rest of the public who had assisted us tremendously for this year, and we ask them to continue. We are saying that the first Wednesday in January, we hope to have our first farmers meeting at the Grenville Police Station at the recreation room at 5 p.m. So we're asking farmers to bear in mind, and person who wanted to join the Farm Watch program can also come to that. I would like to say thank you to the staff of the Grenville Police Station. For the past year, we have worked tirelessly and hard, and I want to say thanks to everybody who has assisted us on the outside, and say thanks and be grateful, and let we have a wonderful and successful 2024. So my number is 459-6605. Wherever you is on the island and you hear this number and you have a problem, you can contact me, so then I can contact other station or branches and pass information.
Thank you, and the same to you for the rest of 2023 and also that of 2024. I trust that we can continue to work together in service and harmony for all. So, seated some time after the 10 o'clock for 5 minutes for traffic management to give us that outline for the town of Grenville. So what I'll do at this time, I would allow CID to greet all of our listeners and our staff, and also if there's a contact number that they can be reached apart from the Grenville Police Station. So I'm back to you, Corporal.
All right. To our listening audience, CID can be contacted at phone number 405-3952. That is our direct number at the Eastern Division, or you can contact the Grenville Police Station at 442-7224. And they can transfer whatever information to us as well. So I would like to thank the general public for assisting us in whatever ways, big or small, in solving whatever crime throughout the year 2023, and also our staff. Well, everybody know how, some may not understand, but we all know how hard and sleepless nights, days off, not, can get your days off, and so because of all the hard work and so trying to solve crimes and so. So I'd like to express gratitude to everyone who would have assisted, especially our team at CID.
Thank you.
You all deserve that. You all did well. We all did well, and congratulations and all the best to our listeners and everyone else for the Christmas season. Please be safe, and blessings for 2024.
Thank you so much, and the same to you and your department. I really trust that end of 2023 can be quiet for especially the Eastern Division, but the Trident State at large, where we do not have any fatality or serious crime that will have us on the run. So we'll go back to Fire as he give his greetings.
Okay.
to.
All right. So just before I do the greetings, contact number, the main one, 911. You call and report a fire or whatever information, as well as the Grenville Police Station, 442-7224. All right. So just call and you could pass that information and we will get it. All right. Also, just before I go, with reference to a fire, even though you have the fire under control, sometimes you have called and you get it under control, we still need to make that response, especially if for a matter for insurance, because we have had situation like that where persons came in and wanting a fire report where it was not reported. So if we never responded to it, we can account for it or say, hey, this what had happened, for insurance purposes, so it's important. Also,
So Fire, I will have to cut you and take the news, and
yes.
when we ride back for that 5.
Father, them a prayer for me country. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any man. Pray for me country. I want to say a prayer to the Lord for my nation. I want to say a prayer for all them politicians. I want to beg the master to brighten their vision. Give them the inspiration to look beyond the horizon. Ah, too long we living in bitterness and hate. Now the time is right for us to renew our faith. I'm sick and tired of all the guns.
Listeners, hear what? You know when you're trying to do so many in little time. So my apologies for cutting the 10 o'clock morning news. But management has been kind to us. They say it's our Christmas greeting gift. So they will allow us a few minutes beyond our time. So we go right back into fire, waste no time, and we'll allow fire to continue.
I was saying, yes, so still report it, and we'll make a response to make an assessment and note it, because you may have a matter that need at the attention of insurance.
Right.
So it's important, because we have had situation where people came in and it was not reported. We didn't make a response, and they need a report for insurance purposes. Just needed to say that. Also, just want to say, well, season greetings, and to all the persons who have helped us or assisted us, because we limited manpower. You know, we go on fire scenes. We had that big one in Progress Park. We have had some of the civilian persons assisted us, and we are grateful for that. All right, just want persons to be safe out there. Anytime you smell something that is burning but get assistance. Check it out, because at least do not pay a blind eye to it and say, well, okay, it's nothing, because you do not see any fire. But anytime you realize you get something that is burning, you try to report it or get assistance, because that can go a long way.
All right.
Yes.
So thank you, and we wish you the very best, and the same for 2024. Yes, Mr. Traffic Officer. If the floor is yours, bear in mind we just got 5 minutes into Win All That You Can, so let's go with the traffic management for the town of Grenville.
Yes, and Sergeant Grant, I really applaud that you saved the best for last. because without a proper traffic management, a proper traffic plan in place, CID cannot move. Prayer Lasni cannot move.
And
the fire truck cannot move.
Okay, then.
Right? So that is where traffic, plays a pivotal role, right, in any operation.
All right, then.
Okay? So without further ado, I just want to go into the traffic arrangement for the town of Grenville. And of course, we know what the town does be like in the town of Grenville around any festive season, be it Carnival, Christmas, Easter, what have you. So we see the need to make Gladstone Road a one-way traffic, meaning that traffic will be only allowed to flow along that road out of the town of Grenville.
Right.
So vehicles coming from the area of Granbra, Granitang, Granbra, Birch Grove, right, and reaching that point, you'll proceed to Salisbury Road to make your way into the town of Grenville, or you proceed along that road and exit into Canal Road if you're traveling up to the Northern Corridor and so on like that.
Right.
Sendal Street, all right, Sendal Street is a very crucial street, so this street will be deemed no parking. All right, we know that there are about 3 supermarkets on that street, and also the traffic light is being, in operation. I mean, the absence of the traffic light, I mean, it was all well and good, that, somebody take a chance and park, but the traffic, you're compelled to obey the traffic lights.
Right.
All right, so that portion of road would be deemed no parking. Okay? You have Seaton James Street, what they call the back street, in the back where is known where Mr. Pesce shop was once located. Right? That, and I want the motorists, right, to listen carefully. This street, once Gladstone Road, will be made a one-way. That means that street automatically will become a two-way traffic, Seaton James Street. So on either sides of that roadway will be coned off, and there will be no parking signs erected along that street. So I want persons to bear in mind that absolutely no parking on St. James Street. Okay, that portion of road by the Methodist school, that big portion of road by the Methodist school, will be made a one-way traffic. So that means vehicles will only able to go up, but they will not be able to come down that road.
Coming to the town.
You're not able to come down that road. And also pay attention to by a riser credit union. Okay, now I'm not talking about going up to Canal Road. This area does really pose a challenge. When persons tend to park in that area and the bus stop alike. So that portion of road, part of that road, will be made no parking as well. Okay, and of course we know that Seton Brown Street, it is closed off to accommodate, the vendors and so on. Also Jubilee Street, as soon as you turn off from Victoria Street into Jubilee Street and the right hand side of that road, opposite the credit union, there'll be made no parking to facilitate a two-lane traffic. So if there is a fleet of vehicles desirous of making a right turn back into Benjamin Street, right, you could stay onto the right side and make that maneuver instead of going all the way up on the left and then to cut across into the traffic.
Okay.
All right, so I really want the motoring public to take note and to cooperate and obey the traffic signs.
Right. So just before you run off, I would like for you to leave your contact number or numbers for your department with our listeners, because traffic is important. And also give us a little enlightenment as to the process when the clamp is being used. Very snappy.
Okay then. Now, you vehicles parking in a no parking area, right? You can be clamped. You can be clamped for such. Vehicle stopping within 30 feet of any corner, you can be clamped for that. In terms of obstruction, but we don't really, it's not really advisable to clamp for obstruction, because if you clamp, you're creating further obstruction whereby the person could have, but we could use other means by wrecking, right? You tow away that vehicle for if it is creating obstruction. And the procedure of retrieving your vehicle, okay, is that you come to the traffic office, okay, you pay a fine of 125 EC, right, you get a receipt, and then an officer, a police officer could authorize someone, okay, to release, that vehicle for you. Okay.
Right.
Our contact number, of course, basically 911. You can call 911 if there is a breach in traffic and so on, any major obstruction, any, accidents and so on like that, 911. And of course, our office number is 459-2371. Okay.
All right. So this has been Traffic 459-2371. Yes. And I say thank you to my wonderful guests for being in studio, and to the management and staff of Real FM 91.9. We say thank you for affording us another program this morning, The Conversation with the RGPF, and to the officer in charge, Paul Christopher, 2IC, Jillian Thomas, various ranks and file. I wouldn't call any names further. Within the Eastern Division, we say thank you for being such a good management team and leaders, and we do look forward to working with you the rest of 2023 and also into 2024. However, you, our community members, our citizens, our various club and stakeholders, we say have a Merry Christmas and a bright and prosperous 2024. Of course, let us not just talk about you, but continue to speak with you as we go ahead to make Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique the safest place to be. It has been The Conversation with the RGPF. If you see something, hear something, know something, we urge you to say something. Please utilize the numbers, engage us, and let us ensure that our community is safe. God bless you. Have a wonderful one. And until it would not be any conversation with the RGPF before the 25th. So God bless. Have a wonderful one. Do everything in moderation. Bye for now.
say a prayer to